All right, we find ourselves at the beginning of Chapter 5, and we're going to be talking about the law of supply. So the opposite of demand is what are the manufacturers or the markets willing to produce in order for consumers to purchase. So the law of supply predicts the relationship between the price and quantity in the marketplace. In particular, the law of supply states that producers will offer an increased supply of an item as its price rises, in order to maximize profits by selling more of the product at higher prices. The law demonstrates how changes in the price affect behavior of producers in the market. Not surprisingly, the supply curve is an upwards sloping curve. So we'll look at that from the perspective of how we compare that to demand and where the two meet. So this part of this introduction or this lecture is going to be two-part. First thing is we're going to have an assignment that's going to be based off of the way I'm going to explain my example. Other parts are just going to be parts of the lecture, so you'll understand as we go through. But to explain this, I'm going to look at something that you might know about. It's the plasma television. Now, kind of antiquated at this point in time. At one point, this was the biggest, most exciting invention for people at home in that nature. So when we're looking at it, we're going to look at the life supply or the lifelong study of how the product exists. Its true lifeline. And this is an example of what it's going to look like. So when you do your assignments, which you'll see, you'll have this chart at the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain what each part of this is, and then give you some factual back knowledge about the plasma television, which is what you're going to be doing for your assignment. So the first thing you see here, I'm going to highlight it up at the top, is you see a demand line and a supply line. This is the product introduction. So this is when we create a new product. It starts off at 0 and it starts moving up because we start to create that product. This is where you'd see like something that's brand new or just coming out or the new future is now type of example. So when something like the plasma TV comes out, there's going to be a demand. You're going to see a lot of people who are coming out saying, wow, I want that, that's new, that's awesome, it's cool, how do I get it? So what you're going to see is the supply is going to be much lower than the demand. So my example, of course, is plasma TV, and at the bottom it says the first plasma display screen was invented in 1964 by Professors Donald Blitzer and Gene Stalow at University of Illinois. Plasma televisions didn't reach the consumer market until the mid-1990s. The price of a 42-inch plasma television in 1997 was $14,999. So as we continue on this chart, when this product's new, everybody wants it, they're willing to pay top dollar for it. Right here where the two lines meet, this is where the demand is met. This is where the market is happy because the products that are being supplied are being sold. Consumers are happy because they're getting it for a good price. The consumers who want that is, because again in this part we're talking about a new item, so people are willing to pay much more than what they're willing to pay for it now. This next step is called the product competition, and this is where supply will rise in cases of overestimation of the product or new competition into the market and other wider economic factors. So what you see now is the supply is above what the actual demand is for the product. So this would be a period of an item where you would see perhaps clearances or sales, sidewalk sales. How do we get rid of the products, even if that means we're going to make a little less money because the market's saturated. There's more products available than there is demand for that product. So looking again at the bottom, my example for the plasma television. Plasma television sales were strong between 1996 and 2004 because they offered a far superior picture quality. As predicted by the law of supply, plasma televisions enjoyed a strong sales and an even higher price point, even at a high price point. Plasma televisions had sharper blacks, less motion blurs, striking contrast, wider viewing angles, and for their larger screens. The downside of plasma televisions were that they burn, the screen can burn, and high energy consumption. Meaning that if you've ever had or owned a plasma television, if you kept it in the same spot or you had to have like a sort of screen changer to keep it moving, if the screen would stay locked in a certain position for a long time, you would actually see those symbols or see those people burnt into the television. From an economic standpoint, the next section we're going to look at from this process is the product update. So this is where demand may have risen when a product upgrades or prices drop. So this is where it becomes available for the full market, where everybody can easily buy or easily purchase. This sometimes leads to a product shortage or a sold out. So when you look at the top of the fact that the demand is then again higher than the actual supply. So if the prices dropped significantly, looking at Black Friday prices, whatever happened, we were able to make the plasma television cheaper and therefore create more of a market demand for that product. And again, at the bottom, at the late 2000s, LCD technology began to change the television market. LCD televisions offered a lighter unit and less energy consumption than plasma televisions. In 2007, plasma TV saw a 16% decline in revenue. Further innovation led to the LED LCD television, which was lighter, used less energy, and had brighter pictures than either the plasma or LCD televisions. Eventually, plasma TV manufacturers responded by creating more energy efficient sets and by eliminating those screen burns. So they again update their product, change the way they're marketing, and try to find a way to reinvent themselves to become a mature product that's going to be here for the long haul. The last step here, of course, is product saturation or product maturity. This is where supply may rise again once to the product market reaching a maturation, meaning that we feel like we're comfortable with it, we accept it into the market, now let's see where it's going to fit in the long term. Now with a product like television, we know because technology's changed so quickly, it's going to be very hard to keep up to date with what's happening. So at the bottom it says again, North American sales of all flat panel televisions began to decline in 2011. Despite their superior picture qualities, the plasma market deflated further, and the presence of plasma televisions shrunk as companies stopped producing them. Nevertheless, as predicted by the law of supplies, the most expensive televisions were viewing inch LED LCD televisions because they were the biggest sellers. In 2012, LCD televisions, which by that point were mostly LED or LCD, had an 87% share of the global television sales, while plasma televisions only met 6% of the market. So again, as much as they were up here, when there was a gigantic demand, when they were selling for almost $15,000, eventually the product fades out and kind of becomes obsolete. So plasma televisions were on the first of the new TV models, but sales fell totally off. And by 2013's, plasmas only accounted for about 5% of all televisions. One reason was the arrival of that LCD, LED flat panel TV. They were thinner and they were lighter and more efficient. Also in 2012, pushing the manufacturers to distinguish products in newer ways that resulted in the different things like smart television and Web Connect, high definition 4K TVs, and OLED or organic light emitting diode TVs, which were very thin and also very light. So with all these new things coming out there, plasma finds itself in a state of obsolete. So just like other TVs of the past, these products that were once extremely popular, extremely effective, now are no longer popular. So what you're going to do with your next assignment is we're going to look at other different ideas of products and the lifeline of supply based off of what was happening in the world market. So you're going to work either by yourself or with a group of partner or another group to create the same presentation that I did based off of this exact lifeline. When was the prices high? When did it change? When did the product mature? When did it go away?